Hey, folks, welcome to InTheMoneyStocks.com's intraday analysis video, brought to you by the creators of proprietary price, pattern, and time methodology. Learn the PPT strategies and profit for life. Let's get into the market action today on this Wednesday, July 16th, 2014. There are quite a few things I want to talk about here today. Mainly the market's up across the board, but not up as substantially as you might think. And again, right now we have the S&P up 7.5 points, Dow up 67, NASDAQ up 17.5, and that's basically good for about 0.4%. But the problem here, and this is where it lies, all right, if you look at the news that came out yesterday morning, yesterday after the bell, and this morning, this market over the last 2 days should have gained 200 points on the Dow. Should have been up 25, 30 points on the S&P 500. And it did not. Now let's go over this news because I think it's important. So yesterday morning we saw great earnings from Goldman Sachs. And Goldman Sachs was up nicely yesterday, up again very nicely today. You can see today it's up $1.81. In addition, yesterday morning JP Morgan reported great earnings. And the stock yesterday had a great day on JPM and again is having follow through today. Yesterday we did not see any sort of positive reaction in the markets. If you look at the SPY chart yesterday, the SPY opened higher, fell sharply, then bounced back and closed to the negative side. All right, now let's go to yesterday after the close. Yesterday after the close, Intel reported earnings. Okay? Intel today is having a monster day, folks. You do not see Intel go up this much very often. Like once in a 3 to 5 year span, you'll see Intel up this much. Up $2.41 or 7.5% gain on the day. Now, you would assume this was a positive thing, and yeah, okay, maybe it's helping the NASDAQ be up today. NASDAQ right now up about 18 points, as I said, but the problem is there were other good news pieces that came out today, and I want to discuss those. All right, so we saw a bid for Time Warner today at a huge premium, and that stock is up 17% today. So that's M&A action plus earnings great reports. Okay, so Intel, great report on earnings. M&A action with Time Warner as a bidder comes out and offers a huge premium on them. All right, now you would think that that's, okay, so this is a lot of good news, but there's more. All right, take a look at IBM today. IBM up almost $5 on the day. This alone, this one stock alone, is a result of about 40 points on the Dow Jones Industrial Average alone. Just this one stock is adding 40 points to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The Dow's only up 71 points right now. Okay, and they initiated a collaboration with Apple. All right, and Apple's up about just under $1 today on some new big ventures going forward. So now you have two of the biggest companies in the world in Apple and IBM with a joint venture. That both stocks are doing well today. IBM especially is a huge component of the Dow. You have Intel with huge earnings. You have M&A action going on, which is always going to give the markets a little bit of a bid, especially when it's such a nice premium to Time Warner. Yesterday you had Goldman Sachs JPM earnings, and bottom line is, let's look at the SPY today. SPY up 80 cents. Yesterday we were down. So my thesis here, and you guys should understand it by now, is very simple. Okay? And my thesis, markets right now should be up more than they are. Today is a very, 0.4%, that's it. You should have it, honestly, the S&P should be up 1% today. It should be up 1% on the back of this news. So, going to what I've said yesterday, and there are a few keys that I've said yesterday. All right, number one, the volatility's increased since July 4th. We know that. So there's an issue there. Before July 4th, no volatility. VIX was basically at 10. All right, now, the other factors here lie in the aspect of this upsloping trend line. Now, remember, basically, the markets could float up, although we are continuing to see issues like I just discussed over the last couple minutes with the markets and how they're not really gaining on amazing news. But if you look at this trend line, this is the one you're watching for, and I discussed it yesterday. This goes back literally 2-3 months. And when you get a close on the daily, meaning at the end of the day when you close below this line, which has never happened yet since this line was put into effect, that is when the essence of this market will be broken. Okay, does everyone understand what I'm saying? So, again, the cracks in the glass are being seen everywhere. Like today, the market should be up more, and it's not. This is an amazing news-filled day with positives, and if that's the best you're going to get, that's an issue in the markets. Because what happens when we have neutral news, or what happens when Google reports tomorrow? What if they don't beat estimates and really have great earnings? What if they have poor earnings? Markets could get slammed on that. All right. In addition, You see the volatility increasing and the volume increasing. That's always a negative. Again, volatility breeds naturally a little bit of fear, which can cause selling. And again, ultimately, you're waiting for this trend line right here to be closed below. And this trend line slopes up, so it's going to inch up a little every day. But when that line is taken out to the downside, watch out. Markets are going to sell sharply. All right, guys, so give you a little bit of a sense there. Take a look at a couple other charts out there. Gold today is getting a little bit of a bounce back, but very minor. It's actually rolled over, but still green on the day. And you can see right here a little bit of a gap up and then a fade, as again the markets have kind of come back a little bit off of their initial sell-off lows. Remember, we opened higher today, sold off, and then we bounced back up a little. We never went negative today, though, on the S&P 500. Always stayed slightly positive. All right, other things out there. Oil today, guys. Take a look at oil, having a great gain. We are long oil in the research center, and again, nice gain there on oil. In addition, if we take a look at some other stocks out there that are performing today, what you're really seeing today is Old School Technology is having a solid day. All right, so keep that in mind. Old School Technology. Why Old School Technology is doing well today? Because anytime Intel, which is an old school tech firm, starts to look a little bit better, investors flock and shorts cover the other old school stocks. What are other old school stocks? Well, old school stock would be Microsoft. Been around for a long, long time. IBM, for one, which is doing really well today. But look at Microsoft today. That's a great gain on Microsoft, and it's all on the back of that Intel report, as people are speculating that these old school plays are undervalued. Also, Hewlett-Packard today. It's off its highs initially of this big push, but it is again still up very nicely. 2.25% is a very nice move on Intel today. Also, other stocks that are old school, although kind of not related into the field of technology, but here Chevron is up $1.36 as well. All right, looking at some newer plays out there, Baidu very flat on the day, and this is kind of interesting too. I mean, Baidu's flat on the day, just up slightly. That's off its highs. And look at Netflix today, down on the day. Tesla today up, but basically up 6 cents. That's essentially flat on the day. So just keep in mind what we're seeing here, and just to kind of differentiate it for you guys and make it simple, you're seeing old school technology having a good day. Markets overall should be up more considering the great news we've seen between M&A and earnings and other announcements out there, collaborations. And you're seeing Netflix and the high beta names, which have really been the driving force lately, they're selling off. And you can even see Chipotle, Mexican Grill, CMG is also down. I mean, any of these high beta names are flat or negative on the day, and that should be a concern as well. The IBB, the biotech index, continues to go lower. That's also been a leader lately, and now it's kind of starting to lag a little bit. So a few of these issues definitely deserve attention, and I do want us to kind of keep an eye on them in the coming days and see how they play out. Okay? So on that note, folks, I'm going to bid you farewell. But again, some interesting things coming. Just what I want you to do here is just very simply keep an eye on this upsloping trend line. Remember, as long as the markets are above here, they technically could go a little bit higher. You could make new highs. The S&P could get above 2,000, only 19 points away right now. But remember, the cracks are emerging. All right, the action we've seen this week, even last week to some extent, starting to show that the market's struggling here, especially today, in my opinion, and yesterday. The struggling markets will ultimately be the first kind of earthquake or tremor that this market experiences before it has some sort of pullback. That pullback will be a no-brainer once we get below that. That'll be when it starts right here, this trend line here. All right, guys, have a great afternoon, great evening. As always, come join us here. Take the 7-day free trial at InTheMoneyStocks.com.